Hey, good day, guys.
Hi. Hi, Peter. Hi.
Let's give it one more minute and then we'll kick it off.
I think people will join now.
Sorry?
I think people will. I think people will join now.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's coming back from lunch.
Uh,
So
yeah.
perfect. So let's get it started. Um, hey there, Olaf. Welcome to the penultimate series, the penultimate session of the deep dive series. This one is around voice channels. So we already did the big agent experience, the ALM part, the messaging part, and now we got the voice part coming up. And next week there's one more, and that is around the routing. So today we're gonna do a deep dive. So we're gonna literally set everything up so you can actually see me doing it. I got a bunch of slides to go with it, just to explain to you about the architectural side of things to make it even more clear. It is an interactive session, so that means that if you have questions, if you want to interrupt me, please do. You can unmute your mic, that is absolutely fine. And that is what we're here for. So let's get started around the voice channel. So the voice channel, we looked at it in the first one in the big overview part. Voice channel is obviously a big part of the omni-channel experience. So when we talk about dynamics, we got the customer service, we got the contact center propositions, and both have the opportunity to create a voice channel. So voice channel has a lot of stuff happening. We got that IVR, we got the intelligence conversational bots to go with it, and we'll look at that in a bit as well while we set that up. We got sentiment analysis where we can literally see how people are reacting emotion wise, meaning that it tries to do that. Mind that it does that based on the transcription, so it doesn't detect sarcasm, but it's actually pretty okay. We can also use that sentiment for routing. That means that we can do sentiment routing. We can also do skill-based routing. We can extend the customer context, and we'll see that happening with the IVR as well, to actually route it through the unified routing engine to the right agent, right? So that is the whole point, is to use all of these tools in our toolbox to get that customer as fast as we can to the right person. So the first time right resolution rate goes up. The agent experience goes up because he only gets the customers that he or she should get instead of having to transfer everyone all the time. And we're going to take a look at the UI or the AI tools that go along with that channel. Um, perfect. So there's a bunch of new stuff introduced lately on the voice channel. One is the voicemail, which is it is alive for quite some time now, so we can actually leave voicemails in there. This is quite new, so we can actually have people drop off and hold their position in the queue and have the system call them back at the moment that it's their turn. So that is pretty nice. And obviously, there's all sorts of messaging that is getting extended and extended to tell people this is your number in the queue, this is your average waiting time, etc., etc. So let's take a look at those voice channels and how we can connect not only VoIP, right? So Skype, Teams, but also actual PSTN, the landlines, as we say. Um, this is the field that we're looking at, right? So these are all the channels, and we're taking a look at the voice channel. We took a look at the SMS channel last time. That is also in part a part of the ACS that we're going to look at today for voice as well, but we're going to focus on the voice part of it, which also contains, well, these parts, the Nuance speech, we'll see. Nuance is the company that Microsoft bought a few years back, which has advanced speech recognition. All of the Nuance parts are being copied over to Copilot Studio. So Nuance will exist and will be still there as a separate product that you can use and integrate with Dynamics. But all of the advanced capabilities that Nuance had are now also coming to Copilot Studio, which make up the IVR. We're going to take a look at that in a little bit more depth in a bit. There's also Power Automate, which is also a really cool that we can use as routing, where we can use specific parts in the IVR to get customer data, and of course customer service, which is the case management part of the omnichannel, right? A contact center in Dynamics is basically customer service with voice, but without the case management, right? So that's Microsoft has 3 propositions. We got customer service, which is the full flex thing, so that can include voice and messaging and case management. You got contact center, which is basically the IVR plus the voice and the social channels, the messaging channels. But Microsoft also has a third one, which is just the IVR. So there's an actual proposition that you can buy, which is just the IVR. So it doesn't have the voice or messaging channels. It just has that voice channel for your IVR menu, and then can route it to, well, external numbers, for example. I have yet to see a customer that used it that way, but perhaps it gets more popular. So what are we looking at when we talk about the connectivity options? If we take a look at the PSTN connectivity options, Dynamics is on this side, which is the IVR, as I said, the workspace, that's the customer service workspace, and underneath is the unified routing. And on the other end, we got the Azure Communication Service. If you set up customer service for Dynamics, you will have the contact center, as we say, but without the voice channel still installed. If you want to install that, you also have to provide the Azure Communication Service, and we're going to do that in a few slides. We're going to literally set all of that up, so you can review it if you want to do it yourself. The Azure Communication Service is the Azure service that literally connects those 2 worlds. So PSTN, the landlines coming in, the actual phone numbers have to be connected to Dynamics at some point, in some way, and that is how we do it. So Azure Communication Service is that bridge in between. On this side, you usually have a carrier, right? Say Vodafone or KPN or Orange or whatever carrier you might have in your country. If you want them to deliver your voice calls to Dynamics, you will have to get direct routing in place. That means that we somehow have to connect that carrier to that Azure Communication Service so that it can talk to Dynamics, right? If you do not want to do that, there's also an option to have Azure Communication Service or Microsoft function as your carrier. And then obviously you'll get new numbers. You can port your numbers to Microsoft and have Microsoft do a managed session border controller. We'll look at that in a little bit more depth in a few slides as well. Now, why would you do native voice calling or direct routing? If you choose for the native Microsoft calling, the voice calling, you have literally 0 hardware footprint, right? It's really easy to set up. You got a single bill to pay. It's just the Azure bill for that. It has coverage in almost every country, but it is more expensive, right? So mind that if you have a direct carrier, if you have direct routing in place, which for example, Vodafone, it is a more cheap plan than having the minutes tick up through Microsoft. Mind that you can have both, right? It's not one or the other. You can just have that both in your own tenant. If you want to know what is well, cheaper, or what would you pick, I created some calculator before for the people who saw that already. There's on my website. I'll post the calculator in the chat. There's an Excel, and the Excel just gives you a really good indication. Like, I have so many users. This is the country that I'm in. This is how many minutes I would do, IVR, etc. And then on the right side out rolls a number that you are gonna probably spend monthly. And obviously you can compare that with your carrier costs. Mind that pricing is a very complicated, a complex thing on customer service. So if you're talking about voice and pricing around voice, it is a really complicated thing. So we got PSTN inbound per minute, we got VoIP inbound per minute, we got calls through the SBC that are calculated per minute, and all of these prices differ per country that you're in. But also, let me scroll back to a little bit more like this. If you have a call from a mobile device and your supervisor listens in and you're consulting one through Teams, you will see that the participant, the one calling in, is paying, the one going from the ACS to the agent is paying, the supervisor is paying something, and the consult is paying as well, plus the reporting bot is paying as well. So you can see that it adds up pretty quickly, I would say. And it's not something that you can really calculate precisely up front, because you never know how many calls are going to be consulted on or going to be transferred, right? So mind that it is. I always get the question, what is it going to cost me and how can I compare that correctly to my direct routing? It is really hard to compare, right? I can only give you a ballpark figure using the calculator, but the actual number is in that range, so to speak. Okay. So let's take a look at the ACS, and let's set up something, basic routing, basic work stream in Dynamics before we go anywhere else. Oh, let me go to the right, this one. So starting out from customer service, I set up customer service, could be contact center, right? It doesn't really matter. This one has case management, but we're not going to focus on that. If you want to start using it, and you started out with a trial, you will see that you first have to provision your voice channel. So I already got it here, but you can, if you don't see voice right here just now, you have to go to manage channels under customer support in your customer service admin center. And then you will have to enable voice, right? That is taking a bit before it actually sets it up. So I did that up front, and then you will have that voice channel right here. So if you manage that, you can add channels to it. And I already set one up, but I'm going to just make a new one. And so you can see how it works in the demo. So let me set up a voice demo channel. It asks me to set up a phone number to go along with that work stream that we're going to set up as well. And so it says you have to do the right steps. First, get a phone number. If you try to set it up using a trial, you'll see that Microsoft provisioned a trial number. This trial number is connected to an Azure Communication Service of Microsoft, right? You can't do much with this. You have 60 minutes of calling on the trial, but you can't manage that ACS, that Azure Communication Service, yourself. It's a managed by Microsoft thing. So that means that if I edit this phone number, and for example, I want to say, well, I also want to make outbound calls or receive SMS on this trial number, it will say, we're not going to do that. You can't use it. So if you want to set something up, if you want to do a proof of concept, you quickly need to switch to an actual phone number, to an actual ACS, right? So let's do that. And for that, we're going to end the trial, because I don't want to have anything to do with that Microsoft thing. I want to have the real thing. And for that, we're going to set up the ACS. So I'm going to get started. And I want to create a new resource. I want to create a new ACS. If you do this, you can do it two ways. Either you can set something up in Azure yourself and connect it here, or you can have Azure or Dynamics set up that whole Azure communication service for you. Right? I'm going to do it from Azure, so you can see all of the steps that you might need to take instead of having Dynamics do it for you. So I'm going to quickly switch to Azure and take you through all the steps. So what you want to do is first provision a Azure communication service. So if you can't find it, if it's not there for you right here, just look for it, Azure communication service. You can create a new one. It will just ask you what kind of subscription do you want and where would you want to put it. I did that right now. This is just an empty one because I didn't want to wait in the demo for the provisioning. So once you have that, let me go back to home so I'm losing the side panel. Once you have that, you can see a bunch of options here. You can see that there's phone numbers here. You can see there's shortcodes. There's options for direct routing. So if you want to set something up like direct routing, this is the place to do it, right? So that's why I want to do that from the Azure portal, so you can actually see what is happening there. So direct routing, if you want to set it up, if you want to connect your own phone numbers that live with your carrier to Dynamics, you have to make them available through your ACS. And you do that by connecting a custom domain. This is info that you will get from your carrier, right? So this is, for example, stuff that Vodafone will provide you, right? They will provide you first the domain, then the session border controllers, and then a voice route, which is probably .star for everything, right? So mind that this is something that you will have to fill in with information you get from your carrier. This is not something that you have to make up. I'm going to use a number from Microsoft instead of having my carrier connected. So I can choose to have a phone number coming in. I want to buy a number. I don't want to have a trial. Do I have to? This is pretty weird. Why is it not making me? Why is the get option out? Perhaps I am on a trial subscription, so perhaps that is why I can't get a normal one, but let's see. If we can actually get a new one. Otherwise, I'll switch to a different tenant so I can actually show you how that looks. No, apparently I have to elevate my subscription. But let me switch to another tenant so I can show you that in my personal tenant. Or at Azure.com. Because what I want to show you is that there's a Azure communication service. Sorry, but then I do have to provision it for 1 second while voice over while it creates. If you want to ACS power, that's fine. It's fine. Let's do it like that. Let's put it in Europe. Create. If you want to get numbers through Microsoft, mind that you can't use any number that you want. There is different regulations that Microsoft has to adhere to, meaning that you cannot have any number. If you, for example, want to get a number from the Netherlands, where I live, you will have to provide company details, like you're an actual company. You have to get a Chamber of Commerce a slip summary, and then you have to send that in. So there's special orders for special regulations that are active in every country. So there's a bunch of countries that you can acquire a number from, like, for example, the US is much, much easier. Norway is hard. Germany is okay-ish. So there's a bunch of different things that you can use. Also mind that not every number is available to also do outgoing calls or receive and send SMS, right? So it will show you that when you choose to get a number. That's what I want to show you. On that calculator, let me quickly get back to that while this propagates. On that calculator, you can also see that list price helper sheet with all of the phone pricing in there, which also lists the toll-free numbers and the geographic numbers. So the geographic numbers are with the country prefix, and toll-free numbers are exactly as you said, toll-free, so you carry the cost for the caller. And as you can see, it really, really varies pricing-wise, right? So in France, you can get a geographical number for $1, while in China you pay $54 a month for the same kind of functionality, right? You can also see the incoming voice and outgoing voice. It is really, really different pricing-wise, right? Incoming voice in the Netherlands is just 0.01, while outgoing voice is 0.35. And this is why I say that it could be really beneficial and advantageous to you if you, for example, have incoming calls through Microsoft, but use your outgoing calls through your carrier, right? So please do mind that, well, more detailed look at the costs for that. Okay, so this is complete. I'll show you that phone number on this side. So if I go to phone numbers here, it should actually get me my get button. Come on. Okay, I'm on a sponsorship subscription here as well, so that doesn't matter. Okay, unfortunately. As I said, you would normally have that number, and you can pick the country, and it will show you have to actually put an order in. It will show you a link to that specific portal, and then you can put your details in. You can supply your company details, etc. Perfect. But now I got calling. Now I got my ACS set up, and that is what I want to connect to my Dynamics. Before I can do that, there's one more thing that I need to do, and that is to create an application registration. This is all done for you if you do this through Dynamics, right? So it is good to do it through Dynamics. If you're a global admin, it will do that all for you. If you're not a global admin, you will have to request these different things, right? So you'll have to request a Azure Communication Service instance, and you will also have to request an app registration. So the app registrations are in Intra. You can create one here, app registrations. Let me just create a new one, ACS. I'm just going to name it like this. I don't have to fill in anything else, just to have the app registration. And what you need from that app registration is the client ID. Right? So I'm just going to copy that over. And you also need the tenant ID. So the client ID and the tenant ID. So once back in Dynamics, it will ask you to use a specific resource, which obviously is the name, right, of the ACS. Well, I named it ACS, so that is really easy. ACS. I need to get the resource ID. The resource ID is the object ID. I need to get the connection string, and the connection string is, let me see where that is. Is that on the endpoints? No, sorry. Where is my connection string? Oh, sorry. This is not the ACS. I was thinking this is the app registration. I have to go back to the ACS. But I got the wrong object ID. Let me see. Settings. Identity. This is my endpoint. ACS boundary. This is my name. I'll do that. The ACS resource ID. If you want to get IDs from anything regarding your ACS, this is also a good place. So if you just get the JSON view, everything is in there, and you don't have to look through everything. So the immutable resource ID is this one. Well, now I get to the connection string. Where is my connection string? Let me. Where would that? Sorry, I'm just. Properties. No. Here it is. Sorry. Underneath keys, there's your connection string. So underneath the primary key, this is the one that you need. There we go. And then it will ask you for your event grid app ID. The event grid app ID, this is a really strange name because this is not actually the event grid app ID. This is the client ID of that app registration that you just made, right? So this is what you need. It already fills in the tenant ID. And now, come on, I can connect to it if everything goes all right. The resource ID is in an unexpected format. Let me see. I think I put the wrong one on that. Well, that is awkward. Endpoint, I got this one. Say I got everything. Video logs. Okay, I have to check out why that is not working. So let's create one through here and just put in my event grid ID. Just have it create one. So normally it would connect. I don't know why it's not connecting. So now I'm ending up with two different ACSs, which is fine. ACS power. Yeah. Right, let's have it deployed. Mind that this is only something that you can do if you have the necessary rights. So now it tries to get that app registration ID and it will create a new Azure Communication Service for me. What you won't see now, because it's doing that in the background, is that you will also have a few event grid system topics that are being created. So if you connect it, if you set this up manually, what you have to do for your ACS is to also provision the few system grid topics. So the system grid topics, the event grid topics are what is used to actually get the recording started, to get the signaling for the SMS, to get the signaling for the transcripts. So all of that events that are happening in the ACS, that is done, that signaling through Dynamics is done through system topics. So if you set it up manually, this is the next step that you want to go. You create a new system topic. I'm going to create one. There we go. And what you want to do is first change the topic type to, in this case, Microsoft. Oh, there we go. Sorry. communication service. There we go. Pick the right subscription, pick your right resource. This is the one I provisioned earlier. The demo one is the one that is being provisioned right now by Dynamics. And what you want to do is you want to have a system assigned identity enabled. This means that, oh, well, sorry, this is, let me just click one through so you can see what we're going to do. Perfect, create. We take one more step. You can see all of the steps. It's a very extensive process that you need to do. And if you know all the steps, it's fairly easy. But if you want to get through all of the documentation, it's a pretty irritating job. Then we got event subscription. So we got that system topic, and within the system topic, I want to create 3 different event subscriptions. So I want to do one for incoming voice. And with that, I can subscribe to the event that is saying I want to have an event go off for an incoming call. You need a webhook endpoint type for this. Here it says you have to create an endpoint. This endpoint comes from Dynamics. So if you create it, if you connect it, there we go. This one has provisioned it correctly. Come on, refresh. Go to phone numbers. Yes, we were there just now. There we go. Here we go. So now I got this ACS. Perfect. It says I need to do it anyway on the other one. So let me go back to National Communication Service. Here we go. I don't have event rate right here on that one either. So let me do that right now. System topic. This is the one. So it did provision it. It just didn't provide the subscriptions yet. Incoming call. As I said, let's just don't have spaces. There we go. I say this is my incoming call and webhook, and I need to get that from Dynamics. So this is your incoming call webhook. I created it in the wrong order, but that's fine. So incoming call is one. Webhook, configure that endpoint. There we go. Confirm the selection. Create. Oh, mind before you create, you can do it afterwards as well, is that you need to enable Microsoft Entra authentication for this. And here, again, you will need to have the client ID of the app registration, that is this one, and you need to have your tenant ID, that is this one. If you get troubles, if you get some issues with things not working, mind that is that could be a racing condition, right? So this happens once in a while. Just press create until you get it. If it doesn't work now, it says, what does it say? Okay, now it says there's no actual app registration that is owner of this. Let me see that it create one. Well, that is just great. So it created one for me, I guess. What event creates app ID? This one. There we go. Thought I had that one, but apparently not. ACS demo. Sorry for all the confusion there. Client ID, let me get that one. Save that. Copy this. Go back to my ACS. To my system topics. That is this one. I wanted to create a subscription. It's not there yet. call. Incoming call. Figure the endpoints. That's this one. There we go. Mind that I need to now use another client ID. I think that was this one, right? No, great that you. Let me just make sure I got the right one. There we go. This is the tenant. No, it's the wrong box. This one needs to go here. And before I do that, mind that I do have to save this app ID. Let's save it quickly. Perfect. Go back here to the event, say create, and see if it works now. Oh, it doesn't. Oh, this is a great demo. Let me get back to you on why it's not working. But this is the step that you need to do. So for some reason, I have to check why it doesn't provision. I'll create a new recording for you and send you to that. I'll send it to you afterwards. The subscriber client user ID could be that I'm on a trial tenant. I don't know. Anyways, we're going here. So this is what you get. So if this connects, and now if I don't do this, it still works. All of my calls will come in. But if you don't configure this correctly, you will have no transcription and you will have no recording. So that's why you need to set up these endpoints, right? So if you don't do that, that's fine. You will miss some functionality there. You want to press the sync from Azure on this end to get the phone numbers in from Azure, right? So I'm not getting any phone numbers now because it's not on the ATS that we created. Let me see, phone numbers. All right, we created a phone number on the other one. Let me see if I can get a phone number on this one. Activate the trial number, that's fine. So if you purchase new phone numbers, if you add new phone numbers to your tenant, you will add them here before they are available in Azure. In Dynamics, you have to go to phone numbers under channels and then phone numbers, and then go to advanced. And within advanced, you have to press sync, right? If you want to connect your phone numbers from your carrier, this is the place to do it as well. You will have to add a number, because if you connect a direct routing carrier in Azure, you won't see any phone numbers, right? Normally you will have a block of phone numbers, like from 000 to 999. Companies have large blocks of phone numbers. You won't see them in Azure, right? So this button here will allow you to add that in a free format way. And then obviously you need to select the direct routing carrier that you provisioned. And you also have to say what you can use it for, right? So this is a more free format way. This is to get them from Azure ACS, and then you'll see them coming in right here. So I can make calls and I can receive calls right now. So that's fine. So I got the phone number now. Mind that I do not have a work stream yet, right? So that is the next one. So once you got a phone number, you need to connect it to something, which usually is a workstream. This is where all your work or all your messaging, all your voices, your calls are coming in. So I can just say I'm doing this incoming call demo. What kind of work stream do you want this to be? Voice. What kind of work distribution do you want? Well, that is fine. I want to have all just by push. Enable it by push. Yep, there we go. So takes a minute. So in the work stream, that is basically the funnel of all of your items. Could be your chats or your emails or your cases or your voice in this case, right? Basically, in that that work stream, this is where you do the connection of your behaviors, of your functionality, of bots that you perhaps want to provision in your work stream, the classification, the enrichment, that is all on the work stream level. So I can now say, well, I want to name this channel voice. I want to select that phone number that I had. You will also only see the available numbers, right? I need to connect a primary language. I can use multiple languages on a work stream. It works ish. I would personally say, well, if you have multiple numbers or you have internal transfers to Dutch speaking, English speaking, etc., make sure you create 2 work streams for that. And that is because, well, you'll see that in a minute. You can select the phone music, the hold music, etc. And then we got the voice profile. And the voice profile is a neural voice, or you can pick whatever you want based on the language that you pick. And this voice will be used to speak out all of those messages. So you can say, I want to override default messaging, or you can use the default messaging, which is going to announce this is your position in the queue. There's an average waiting time of this, etc., etc. So that is all going to be used in this voice, right? So if you have multiple languages on one work stream, what voice is going to use? The primary language, right? So if you want that in multiple languages, make sure that you have different work streams. That is far easier than enrich that conversation with the right language. You can do that, but it's a hassle. Okay, so save and close. I got the language. Let's do next. I got some behavior set up. Do you want the customer wait time to the customer to be notified about their wait time? Do I have any operation hours? Do I want to do something when we're out of operation hours? For example, transfer them to an external service. Do you want to have transcription and recording set to on? Mind that you can only use this if you put the webhooks in rights to those ACS topics, right? So I can let them turn on, but they won't work. Do I want that to be on automatically? Do I want agents to have that option to set that to on or off, etc.? So this is all. Normally, I want to show the transcript. No, I don't want the agent to be able to pause the transcription. You could do that. This is where the custom automated messages come in. So as I said, there's a multitude of events that you can override the default messaging for. So Microsoft has a bunch of default messages. As I said, for example, the waiting period or the customer's position in the queue, right? And I can just type that out. I can type any message that I want, and then that will be spoken instead of the default messaging. So this is an override of the automated messages. And it's really cool because normally in the old phone systems, you had to record it. You had to go to the studio to actually record all of these messages. And now you don't have to. If you have a message that is really urgent, like, hey, we're having a disruption, you can call support, but know that we have a disruption and we can't do anything for you, just have to wait, right? You can, for example, put that as a custom message when the conversation starts, right? So you can do all of that stuff with the custom messaging in here. Do you want the agent to be able to provide, to consult internal people or to transfer it to external people? That is what we set up here. There's one more, and that is what is called bridged transfers. This was on by default in all of the systems that you provisioned before last month. This was on by default. This allows the system to continue recording if ongoing. What this means is that if I transfer my call to an external party, my transcription bot will stay on the line listening in and transcribing and recording every word, right? The people on the other end, they don't know that, right? Microsoft changed their behavior on this a little bit because obviously that was a privacy issue, right? So now if you do bridge transfers, you will have a message saying that you will be transferred to an external party. If you want to be sneaky, you can obviously say there's a prompt and transfer to external number. You can have a customated automated message set to a space, and then you will hear absolutely nothing, and the recording will still be ongoing, right? I'm not saying you should do that. That is a big violation, but you can still do that technically. If you use bridge transfers, there's one other thing that is icky, and that is that you won't see the caller ID on the other end. So if the external party gets the phone, he won't see the external, the caller's client ID, the caller's ID from the actual customer won't show up, right? If you use bridge transfers, they also cannot use any IVR menu on the other end, right? So they can't press any keys that won't register. So the bridge transfers have some ickiness to it, right? So you can use that to set to off. If you really need it, this is an option for you. Now I got everything up and running. I created my channel. That will show up in my work stream. Just 1 second. There we go. And you can edit that at any time, right? I can also add voice channels to the specific work stream. If I add a voice channel, that means that I can have different numbers, so a multitude of numbers, which could basically be Dutch and English because I got a different entry number in the same work stream. So all of the rest of the settings will go for every one of those phone numbers, right? So that is pretty nifty. This is also the place where I can route that to a specific queue. In this case, it is routed to my default voice queue, which is all users, or I can route them to a specific queue, for example, billing department or support department, where I have specific agents that I want to, that I add to a specific queue, right? This is also the place where I connect a bot to it, and that is where the IVR comes in. So we'll look at that in a sec. So now I got an IVR, or I got a phone number. I got it routed to the default voice queue. Let's see if it works. So if I go to my customer service thing, let me quickly see if I can pull up my phone on my screen. See if I can literally cast it to my computer. Should work. Come on. It's appearing to be working today. Oh, you have to believe me that I will call the actual number that is here without seeing it on the screen. So let me do that. +1 844265325. Let me 844265325. Well, that is not working just yet. So we'll see that happening in just a few. Everything that you do on the voice side, everything that you do for work streams and voice and settings that you make to do the behavior, mind that that takes around 15 minutes at most, right? So there's a propagation time before this actually works. So if you change any settings, it could be that it is not immediately working. So please be patient when trying it out. It could be that you get lucky and that it works in the same moment. It could also not work and then you'll have to wait 15 minutes or so. Let's wait for that and then it comes in a bit. Let's continue to the slides and then we'll get to the rest of it. So now that we set up this, right, this is what we get with this part, or actually this part, this is what we get with the Microsoft setup. ACS is doing the signaling, the routing, the processing of the recording, the transcription. That is all the ACS. That is not happening in Dynamics. That is all in the ACS. The ACS is also basically the session border controller in this case, right? So if you come from the old world where you had Skype for Business and Teams calling, etc., where you had the old session border controllers on premise, that is what is now basically within Azure Communication Service. If you choose direct routing, that session border controller, this thing is actually at your carrier, right? And that is why you need those domain names to be registered on this side so they know how to talk to each other and trust each other, etc. Right? So the session border controller is then being taken out of the communication service and is at your carrier. Microsoft has global deployment, so there's literally regions everywhere. There's edge zones everywhere. It is by now a very global rollout. The carrier that is underneath the Microsoft platform is now Colt Telecom. So everywhere Colt Telecom has presence, which is basically worldwide, Microsoft has presence as well. So that is really cool. As for the supported session border controllers, Microsoft obviously supports their own. Audio codes is a very known one, but there's a few other ones that are working as well. This is not the finite list. There's more. You can see a list on this URL. I'll send the deck after the session. You can click it. Most bigger carriers feature one of these, right? So audio codes is, for example, the one that Vodafone uses internally as well. Networking recommendation, as I said, mind that if you choose to get that out, if you want to have that Azure Communication Service working properly with some outbound SBC, mind that they have to support a few different codecs, at least these. So Silk, G711, 722, and 729, those need to be supported at minimum. And obviously you need to have a stable connection. It is not much. This is obviously per call, right? So Azure Communication Service to client, it's per call you get that bandwidth. It's not much, right? It's not very, it's not a whole lot of bandwidth, but I have seen a bunch of concurrent calls coming in from, for example, a direct carrier, and if they have 5,000 concurrent calls, this obviously adds up, right? Perfect. So we just saw this. So let's take a look at that voice journey. So what is actually included and what we're going to get in a bit, what is on the roadmap. Let me also check how we are on time. Oh, we're good. Perfect. So now we got native voice inbound calling, right? Everyone can call in through PSTN, get connected to the right queue. The agents can transfer and consult on things. That works really well as well. So you have that agent experience where you can consult with Teams users Mind that you can only consult with Teams users if they have an actual calling plan listed. You cannot consult with Teams users over VoIP. It will actually use your calling plan to consult, right? So you will incur calling costs, even if you think you're on Teams. It will actually go out of your calling plan on the Teams side of things and on the Dynamics side. Obviously, you can do outbound calling, and there's transcription, sentiment analysis, etc. So this is basically the default setup that we have nowadays. We're now rolling out those voice enhancements where we can also get direct dialing of an agent. So agents can now have an actual specific phone number tied to them. So you can call in to an actual specific agent instead of having a queue or a work stream number that goes to the entire work stream, right? If you want to use that, that is on the roadmap that's being rolled out in preview right now. This is also in preview, the queue position callback. As I said, if you exceed a certain amount of waiting, you will hear your disposition in the queue. You can drop off, and then we will call you back. Mind that obviously the system does an outbound call, also incurring costs on that side to get the customer back on the line, right? This is really cool. I would love that most of my customers or my companies that I work with do this. I yesterday had to call my insurance for a water leak in my home, and I spent 45 minutes staying on the line just to hold my position, which is literally insane. It's so customer unfriendly, and this will solve that really easily, right? Obviously, voicemail, that is stable and in GA now. You can leave voicemail. Voicemail is also cool because with voicemail, you will get your agents to pick that up in the early morning, right? They can just listen to the recording from within Dynamics, see the transcription, etc. Caller ID, incoming and outgoing caller ID, that is also there. Mind, and this is really important, if you choose to have your Microsoft, if you choose to acquire numbers through Microsoft, that will also be the ID that people see if you call outbound, right? That might not be the best thing for you, right? So normally what we see is that we connect multiple numbers to every queue or every workstream. We have a different number, so we can also transfer to that specific department. But if you call outbound, you might want to have the caller ID read as the main number, right? And not the specific number tied to your workstream. That is also an argument to use direct routing, because if you use direct routing, you have rewrite rules on your SBC saying if I call out to any number, I want you to rewrite the caller ID to my main number. So Dynamics doesn't know any of that. Dynamics thinks that you call outbound through a specific workstream number, but outbound, the actual customer gets displayed the main number then. So that is also something that is possible in an external SBC and not necessarily in an internal, right? I asked Microsoft about this, so why can't I use any caller ID? I want to put in my own company's main number. And Microsoft just responded back, well, this is legislation. We're not going to change this. This is what it is, right? So it's not coming. It's not on the roadmap to change that behavior for now. Last week, we took a little bit of a dive into the diagnostics. That is in preview now. That works really well. We can use application insights for it. We can consult people over a VoIP that is coming. As I said, that is not right now. There's a specific private preview program for that. For now, it uses that calling plan. So that behavior is going to change a little bit. We're going to have more infused intelligence for the people who watch the Ignite releases, the Ignite news. There's a bunch of new agents that are specific to customer service, where they pick up on intent, they pick up on the category that it's supposed to be in, etc. And it tries to fill in a bunch of fields for you. That's really cool. We're going to have a revamped soft phone that is already in the works. We can already see that happening and rolling out right now. So the agent experience is getting better. Microsoft is heavily investing in this. Improvements for transfer. So cold and warm transfers are also working. This is already working. As I said, there's no star next to it. Call forwarding is also working. Mind that this is not the bridge transfer that we said, right? There's another thing. What is also added, and that is what this one is really cool, is that agents can say, I want this call to be forwarded to my private phone, right? That is how a few others, like Odigo, for example, if you look at other vendors, are doing it. They don't have necessarily a soft phone, they have hardware phones, and you can literally just say, if it comes in, I want it to ring on my mobile, right? Really cool functionality. Again, mind that you will incur costs for that, but that might not be the worst thing. That is on the roadmap right now. It's not out yet. There's a bunch more things coming up. Obviously, we already have all of this. The stars means that it's in preview. We're getting a bunch more things. And obviously, this is not set in stone. This is very much a moving target for Microsoft. So mind that this is not a given. It can change, can fluctuate. But a few things that I think are really cool is, for example, robocall, right? So progressive dialing with agent reservation, progressive dialing at all. Outbound calling, if you want to use it within your marketing campaigns, etc., that is coming to contact center as well. So really cool. If you want to have a list calling and just connect that to a specific customer and then obviously tie it to an agent, that is what is coming here. Mind that answering machine detection, that is obviously very much related to that, is not coming until after April, right? So here you will have outbound calling available, but then your agent can be connected to a voicemail, and there's voicemail detection there that is coming later. It is on the roadmap, but it takes a little bit longer, right? So this sheet, I'll put that in, is going to be there for you as well. Let's go to the IVR. So IVR is obviously a big thing in the contact center world. You want to have your menus, you want to have that press 1 for this, press 2 for that, etc. This is gonna change quite a bit of the experience, right? Copilot gets all of the nuanced capabilities right now. So we got that Azure Communication Service, we got that admin console, the contact center, and now we got that nuanced voice stack, as I said, with all of those advanced capabilities coming to Copilot Studio. I'll show you that in just a sec. And obviously, if you want to connect to data, there's Power Automate to go along with that, right? It is this block. It is that block in the IVR space. What we see happening in multiple of our client projects is that they have their own IVR, because the IVR is much broader than just the contact center, right? So, for example, if you call in, there is, do you want to be connected to support? That might be the contact center. You want to be connected to sales? That might not be the contact center. It might be redirected to a Teams talk or something else, right? So depending on where the IVR is, this is going to work for you. You do not need to necessarily have the whole contact center to use the IVR. You can also use the IVR without the rest of the contact center, right? That is where Copilot Studio comes in. So it is two different products. Obviously, they work together. If you have a contact center license or you have a customer service plus voice license, then the IVR capabilities, the Copilot Studio capabilities are included in your license, right? So that is good to know. So let's, I'm going to skip this one because I'm going to show you that in a sec. So Nuance Speech Technologies, they came to Copilot Studio. They are in there now. It's getting better and better. There's a few things coming up still, but this is what is already in there right now. So enhanced speech accuracy, DTMF tones. So DTMF tones is literally the frequency tones, right? If you press a 2, you hear E, and that is the tone of a 2. So tone recognition, button recognition, that is what we call DTMF. That is included silence detection. So if someone doesn't know what to say or someone is silent, we can actually detect that and escalate it, for example, to a real life agent. Filtering out background noise, really, really important, really nice as well. SSML. So SSML tags is you can use specific tags to emphasize parts of the words or speed things up or do things with the voice that is being spoken. So from text to speech, you can have a fine grain control to fine tune your speech in there. Barge in, so we can actually interrupt what the bot is saying. So the customer doesn't have to wait through the whole menu, and obviously long loop operations that we can also do. All right, so let's dive into what it is. It's in Copilot Studio. That is where we used to create the chat bots. That is now also where we create the IVRs and the voice bots that go along with it. That means that we can use all of the connectors that are in there. We can use there as well. So we can connect with Power Automate to all of those connectors, 1,400 plus connectors, to get data in that IVR available to us. Right? So imagine if you say, if I call my American Express, which is always a nice example, it will just ask me, hey, type in your number or speak your number of your credit card so we can pull up your details, right? And if I do that, it will literally use Power Automate to get my contact details from Dynamics, pull that up, and then it will say, hey, you have to verify with your own secret code that you made up in your profile. Right? Obviously, that is also in Dataverse. So it will verify that before I get further into the menu and get to the agent saying, hey, this guy escalated from the bot, from the IVR, and has been authenticated or has not been authenticated, and the agent has to perform those steps together with the client. But that speeds up things really, really well, right? So Power Automate is a big part of having a hyper-personalized IVR. I can literally pull up, based on the incoming number of the customer that is calling in, I can pull up the details and say, hey, instead of, hey, use press 1, 2, or 3, I can say, hey, Peter, I know that you called last week for a car insurance. Do you want to continue your application for that? Right? Mind that you do not overshare, but it is really cool what you can do with that. So let's take a look at how that works real quick. Let me go back to Dynamics. So Microsoft just decided to upgrade the whole experience. So there's a bunch of things happening, and things that were in there last week are not in there anymore. Things are coming new, so it's a bit in flux. But I'll show you the gist of it. Mind that if you want to create a Copilot bot, you can obviously go to copilotstudio.microsoft.com and you can create one right here. If you create one right here, you will have to, and let me click this one. If you create one right here, you will have to go to, come on, loads it up. So basically, this is the same thing as a chatbot, right? So it's just a chatbot that also has voice enabled. So we have a chatbot right here, the Copilot Studio bot. If I go to settings, there is a voice tab. And then I can say I want to also include the voice first features of this. Well, I'm not going to do that here because this is a voice bot, chat bot, but I could click this and then I will get all of the voice capabilities on that as well. If I create it here first, I have to go to channels after I create everything to actually connect it to my Dynamics customer service thing. And that is all good and fine. I do not like to do that. I would always like to do it the other way around and connect it from the dynamic side, because then all of my connections get set automatically, right? So I can just say I want to create a bot. If I don't have one right here, this is all, you can only pick an existing bot right here. So let me create a new one by going to bots first. I can add a bot here. I can say I want to create a new one. And then I can say I want to have calling demo IVR. What kind of language do I want? Let's say English. And mind that you would want to have that voice added to it, because it will set all of those DTMF features to on while it creates it. So it will connect it. If you have old bots from a year back, it will show you Copilot Classic. If you're not upgraded to the vNext platform, which is the current new voice platform, you have to upgrade them before April, I believe, right? So there's a forced upgrade coming. Mind that you have to do that. So this takes a few good seconds because it's creating all of that stuff in the background. And once it is connected, come on. Oh, I can click it right now. I can click it and then it will open up in Copilot Studio. Let me go back and refresh this once more. No, it's not there yet. It's available in Copilot Studio already. There we go. So it gets that preview message, it gets that welcome message, it gets that press the pound key, so you can already see that it has that DTMF support. If you want to test this, debug mode is really nice. I can track between topics if I want to do that as well. I can click every message to see in which topic it is available, right? So it always starts, if you go to topics, it will always start with that conversation start system topic. This is where you always come in, right? So there's a bunch of topics. This is where it starts. And if you open that up, you will see, hello, I'm in this case the bot. So if you want to change that, that is fine. You can change it here. Every message, every question that you have, all the things that you want to do with a chat bot, you can always also do with a voice bot. If you do not put a speech alternative in, it will use the text version of things to actually speak out, right? To actually read aloud. If you want to use this as a chatbot and a voice bot at the same time, you can choose to have a speech alternative, right? So I can add a message variation to actually say, if you're using this for calling, this is what I want to use. If you want to do that, then you also get that SSML tag option. You won't get that in the text version, but you can actually say, hey, I want this to be, I want to have some emphasis on this. See? So you can see that you can add emphasis to specific words, or you can use prosody. Prosody is the pitch, so you can have a lower pitch or a higher pitch on specific words. That is also fine. That prosody is also what we use for volume, right? So there's a bunch of really neat things that you can do with voice that you cannot do in the text variations. After the welcome message, it will immediately redirect you to the main menu. And that main menu is a topic that is getting created when you enable that voice thing. So let me leave this page and go to the main menu. That is just another topic, right? So that's a custom topic. It is called main menu in this case. And it will also start with DTMF received. Mind that this trigger will not hit if we come from another topic. So this trigger is just a trigger that is being invoked by this one, right? To hit this menu again, press pound key. You can add a trigger to a topic, in this case, a tone recognition. If I click it, it will literally say, if the pound key is getting pressed, this topic will start over, right? So that is what this uses. And then I get the text. I can get text. I can say, well, instead of store hours, you can see that it now says you can say store hours, right? I can literally just say, I want to put in a question. And the question could be, what can I help you with? And then I can say, well, I want to have, for example, billing. And I want to have sales. No, did billing not save? No, sales did not save. Okay. Sales. And I want to have product issues. Right. So these are my options. Mind that you do not see any of the DTMF tones attached to it. So Microsoft is just changing this behavior. Before, you could actually say for every item, I could actually say, well, there's a DTMF tone that I want to connect to it. Now you can add synonyms. So I can say this is 1, and then it will pick up on the DTMF tone 1 as a synonym, right? They say that they're going to change that back, so it's going to come back, and then you can add specific DTMF keys to specific options. But the customer experience is much greater now with the use of this. So now you can actually say, just read a free format. Just tell me what you're calling for, and I will try to help you in matching, right? So based on what the customer is telling you, in this case, could be billing, could be sale, could be product issues, it will read it aloud. So it will actually say, what can I help you with? Billing, sales, or product issues, right? So it will read that aloud to the caller. You can also have it free format, then you don't have to put in multiple options, but just a free format question, that is also fine. You can select the properties on this and say, I don't want this to be interruptible, right? So you can change the behavior of every question. You can also say, I don't want this to be skipped every time you come in here. I want you to ask this question, right? Or have a retry prompt. If perhaps people do not understand what you put here, put it in simpler language as a retry, right? That is also fine. It will save that response as a variable. So this variable could be the menu option or the IVR, let me call it the IVR menu option. Oh, there we go, IVR menu option. Well, just do it camel case, it bugged me. If you do that, and you want to use this in your routing, or you want to use this as enrichment in your work streams, mind that you have to put this as a global variable, right? So you have to put this as global. You don't want to be carrying it between sessions, because then everyone that calls back can get the same option. So you want them to be set through every time again when they call. But then when I go in here, you can actually say, hey, I want this to be transferred to Dynamics. Because it's already connected, because I created it from Dynamics, this thing works out of the box, right? I can send a message to the agent, right? In this case, I can, for example, put in, hey, this person is calling, this is my, or I can get the name from the thing, or I can just say, user chose a billing. This will end up in that pink kind of color in your transcript, right? So this message will come into the agent in their agent experience, right? So you can see that I actually do the same thing. Chose sales, but just use a different message. And how do we route it to the correct agent, or to the correct queue then? User chose product issues. If we want to connect it to the right queue, let me just save this and publish this. Yes, go for it. You have to publish it before you can use it in Dynamics, obviously. I made that mistake many, many times. And I go back to Dynamics. There we go. So I created the bot, I created that IVR, I created a few topics or a few options. If I go back to the work stream, I got that call demo. I can actually connect, and you can see everything that I do is taking 15 minutes to reflect. All right. If I do that and I connect a bot to it, in this case, I connect this bot to it, this will now be my bot that picks up every call before it actually goes to the routing rules, right? So it will automatically go through this bot before it actually is picked up by any of the classification things. So if I want to do some classification, for example, based on that menu option that I just created, I have to make that variable available. So in the advanced settings, there is context variables, and I want to add one to it. I created this one, IVR menu option. That is a text variable. I just want it to be a thing that is getting passed from the bot to my workstream. Based on this context variable, I can actually do some routing rules. So in this case, I want to do a routing rule saying, for example, I want to do a billing routing rule. Oh, this was the name of the rule set. Just routing rules. Let me just rename this real quick. And this is the name of the specific rule. Let's call this billing. In the conditions, you can then say, I want to add a related entity. The related entity is, in this case, the conversation. So in this case, I want to use the context item value of the conversation. And you can choose from the options that you put in the context values. So now I can say, if this one, if the IVR menu option contains billing or equals billing, then I want you to connect it to this specific voice queue, which could be billing, right? I can also say, well, I want to spread it out a little bit, 50% and 50%, right? So you can actually do some nifty load balancing on your queues if needed, right? But this is really cool. This also works the same way for skilling. So now I created a rule to actually put it into the right queue, right? If I do not want to necessarily route it to a different queue, but I want agents to use skill-based routing, right? I can use that in the classification. So I can literally say, hey, I want a work classification, logical rule. Let me just create a classification rule. I want to create a classification rule called a billing skill. I can do the same thing. So based on the related entity, I can say if this field contains billing, right, then I want you to set the skills to, and I don't have any skills, but I can say if I had a skill called billing, I could say I want an agent that has the skill billing at least this level, right? And obviously this doesn't work because I don't have the skill yet. But this works the same way. So based on skill-based routing, that comes from the context that you pass in, for example, through the IVR, right? Could be all sorts of things, but the IVR is one of the main things. So based on the route you take through that IVR, you will get to this specific thing, right? There's a question in there from sorry that I didn't see that earlier. So what would happen if a customer is unable to find the correct option in the IVR? Yeah, that is a very good question. So usually people struggle, and I have the same thing. I immediately shout agent or talk to human, or that is my thing. Is if the menu is so long, I get impatient. Within the IVR, there is a escalate option. And the escalate is if someone shouts, talk to agent, or any of the other trigger phrases, talk to a person, call back, call support. Literally, there's a bunch of them in there. it will immediately trigger the escalation, and then it will try to transfer it to a live agent, right? This is also the thing, if you go to system topics, there's also a topic that is called silence detection or speech unrecognized. So also for these things, if there's a silence detected, well, it says goodbye, but obviously you can change this behavior to also escalate, right? If there's no longer anyone on the line, you might want to cut the connection, which it does now, or you can say I want to escalate it to an agent, right? Second question, is it also possible to check specific behavior that we want to monitor, e.g. drop-off rates, etc.? Yes. So the IVR, the whole Copilot thing, is a specific option in the dashboarding. So within the dashboarding here, the omni-channel real-time dashboarding and the omni-channel historical dashboarding, there is, and I don't have it enabled just there because I just set up this tenant, but there's a Copilot button here that is not provisioned right now. That will show you the flow of those bots, right? So that is really nice as well. And then the third one, the pitch within the topic is awesome. Is there a possibility to choose a tone or a voice? Yes, that is. There is professional and friendly, etc. If you choose to have fully Gen AI IVR, which you can also do, so instead of having pre-made routes or topics, you can also say, well, I want to enable knowledge. I want to use the orchestration. I want to use the AI knowledge. I want to enable knowledge from my website or something like that. So we can literally have a much smarter self-help thing. That works as well. And there, if you use that one, you can have some custom prompting. So custom prompting will say, I can literally give a directive for every IVR response, where I can say, you have to answer in short sentences at this specific level, A2 level in the Netherlands, for example, for simple language so everyone can understand. Because if you do not do that, you will get a whole self-help article which is miles and miles long, right? So that actually is something that you should do, right? So hopefully that answers your question there.
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. So we got all that. We got all this. We got the demo going on. That is fine. Let me see if I missed anything on my list. No. So let me get back to that last slide. Oh, here we go. This is actually what I just said. So if you have that AI thing, then there's a content moderation. And again, the way Microsoft titles things is ridiculous. But underneath content moderation, this is actually that pre-prompt, right? I wouldn't guess it, but that is actually the tweak of the prompt. Perfect. And that was the end of it. Any questions on your end? No, I know it was a whole long talk and a very big deep dive into the voice calling. If you stumble into any issues setting up that voice channel, please do find me. I'm sorry for the ACS things. I'm on a trial environment. I should have picked a production environment, so it gives me a little bit issues with the subscription there. But other than that, I hope you got most of the gist of it. And then if you run into any issues, then please do find me. I will share the slide deck with you all in the chat. And obviously the recordings will be in the same place. I will put the link on there as well. Next week, we got a more deep dive into the routing on all of the specific channels. So not just voice, but also chat and SMS and socials, etc., which will cover, as we said, the skill-based routing and the sentiment routing, and also the context variables that we showed you now in a high overview. That will cover that more in depth. So perhaps I'll see you next week, and otherwise, at least have a very great weekend. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.